Welcome back to Lair Academy. It's Mickey again, and we are going to be taking a look at the statistics found in a URL shortener. If we look at the project, I've gone ahead and I have added a button for each of these links for statistics. If we take a look at our index.blade file, at the very bottom you can see all I've done is I've duplicated my link and I've added a new route in here, just saying statistic view, and just passing in the link, and then I'm just using a line chart as the graphic. If we head over to our routes file, you can see here at the bottom I have a prefix of statistics, and then I'm getting the route view and passing the link in. I have a new controller for statistics controller, and the action is view. In here you can see it's pretty basic. We're just getting the link and then we're displaying the view itself. If we load up the view, you can see we have some boilerplate bootstrap. We have a canvas here that will be our chart, and at the bottom we're including our chart library, so ChartJS, and then we have some default data here, and this is all from the documentation. So if we take a look at this in Chrome, let's see what we actually have. So let's just choose the statistic button here. You can see we have some stats for January and stats for February. We have the title and a footer here, so this is all coming from our default view. Let's get working on changing some of this data here. If we switch over to our statistics controller, you can see that right now we're just spitting out all of our statistics. So when we die and dump, you can see we have a collection of eloquent models. Now what we want to do is transform this statistics variable into some data that we can use for our chart, and also the labels that come from the data. So we can use this collection and we can run a function called map, which then accepts an anonymous function, and the two parameters are value and index. And for now, let's just die and dump out our value. So this map function is taking the current value or the current item from statistics and just dumping it out to the page. So you can see here we have our attributes and everything in here. So what we want to do is we want to transform these attributes into something more usable, because we don't need all that information. Well, this is what map allows us to do. Instead, we can return an array, and our array is just going to be two variables. It's going to be date, and the value is going to be created at, and let's format as the full month, day, and year. And finally, because each one of these items is an actual visit, let's just set visit to 1. If we refresh our page for statistics, you can see that we have 7 elements, and then inside each one is an array of 2 with the date and the visit. So far this is looking much more usable. However, the next thing we want to do is group by the date. And because we're using a collection, this is very easy to do. We can just chain the event together, and we can say group by, and what we want to do is pass the field in that we want to group by. In our case, it's date. If we refresh, you can see that we have our collection here. However, something's wrong because our date isn't filled in. Let's switch back to Sublime and check this out. So it's a little hard to see, but I've made a spelling mistake. I have data where I needed date. So if we save this and refresh again, you can see that we have our dates, and then each one of our dates has a collection, and inside we have an array. So in this case we have 3 visits, we have 2 visits that day, and 1 visit. Now let's take this one step further, and with the elements that we have for our group by, we're going to map a function again. So remember that this map allows us to return the items inside here. So we're going to pass in the value and the index again. And this time it's going to be pretty simple. All we're going to return is an array, and inside this array we're going to have visits. So we're going to add up each one of these visits. And to do that, all we need to do is assign a variable called visits, and let's make it the count of value. So value count. We could have also done sum here, but this is just a little easier. And it looks like I've made that mistake. We'll fix that, refresh. If we pull down our items, you can see that each one, now we have the number of visits for that day. So this data is exactly what we need. Now we need to transform it into something that ChartJS can use. Let's handle the labels first, because they are the easiest. For the labels, all we need to do is get the keys for the label itself, so the dates. To do this, let's just refer to our variable statistics. And because it's a collection, we can use the function keys. And this will return the keys for us automatically. Now for the data, maybe we're thinking that we could use statistics and then the function values. Well, if we save this and let's take a look at it in our view file, you'll see that we cannot use it. So in our view, let's just go to the top and we'll do a die and dump for statistics, and let's make sure that we're using the data. If we take a look at this, you can see that we do have an array. However, we have a key in each one of these visits, and that's not really suitable for ChartJS. So to get around this, we can just use the flatten command. If we do this, it will remove the keys, so now we're left with just an array and the visits for that day. Now the only thing left is to set up these variables inside our view properly. So let's remove the die and dump. And for our data, what we want to do is we want to spit out the raw content of statistics data, and Laravel will automatically transform this into a JSON array for us. So we don't really have to worry about that. We could have encoded it, but we're just going to skip it. And for the labels, we're going to do the same thing. So we'll just paste what we have in our clipboard and we'll say labels instead of data. We'll just check these variables, labels and data, so we're good there. Now, we have labels and we have data, so you can see our chart's looking pretty good. The final thing that we're going to do is update this footer here. And to do this, it's very simple. Again, because we have an array, we can take this and we could say using from, and we can grab the first element in our array. And the next thing we want to do is grab the last element from our array. If we try and refresh this, it looks like I have an error and I've missed my $signs here. So if we add these in and we give this a refresh, you can see that now we have our dates in here, our chart is working. Let's actually go and try and up this visit count. So we'll just click on our link, wait for it to load a little bit. Our visits are now at 8. If we click statistics, you can see that for today, our jump went up to 2. So everything is working perfectly. Now normally what you would do is you probably wouldn't have all of the records from your statistics on this page. You would want to do something like the past 30 days or give them the option for date range. Now that's something that you can do for homework. I'm not going to cover it here as this is working just fine for what we need to show. Probably the other thing that you may want to do, or a lot of sites do, is they show the top referrals. And because we're capturing those referrals, maybe you want to do a group by or try using the collections and show it at the bottom. And with that being said, I'd like to say thanks for watching this video.